Phaniyamma by M K Indira is a powerful novel set in pre-independence India, dealing with issues of widowhood, caste, patriarchy, and tradition. The novel begins by introducing Phaniyamma as a young girl born into a traditional Brahmin family in South India. Like many girls of her time, she is married off at a very young age, even before she can fully comprehend the meaning of marriage. Her marriage is more of a ritualistic arrangement than a relationship, as she has barely interacted with her husband. The cultural setting of the novel reflects the rigid customs surrounding marriage, where young girls are betrothed based on family alliances rather than personal choice or understanding. The early marriage symbolizes the lack of agency that girls like Phaniyamma have over their own lives. Tragedy strikes early in Phaniyamma's life when her husband dies while she is still a child. The novel portrays the harsh realities faced by widows in traditional Brahmin society, where widowhood is seen as a curse, and the widow is often blamed for the death of her husband. Phaniyamma, still too young to understand the implications of her husband's death, is thrust into a life of isolation and strict societal control. She is forced to shave her head, wear simple white clothes, and abstain from any pleasures or participation in joyous occasions. The novel provides a deep insight into the oppressive treatment of widows in Brahminical society. Phaniyamma, like many other widows, is made to live a life of extreme austerity, denied of any kind of freedom or personal happiness. She is confined to the household, prohibited from attending social gatherings, and considered inauspicious. The novel highlights how widows are dehumanized, reduced to symbols of bad luck, and treated as outcasts. Phaniyamma's isolation becomes symbolic of the larger societal marginalization of widows, who are stripped of their individuality and dignity. Phaniyamma's life is governed by strict adherence to tradition and rituals, which dictate every aspect of her existence as a widow. She is forced to follow rigid rules, such as fasting, performing daily prayers, and abstaining from certain foods and activities. These rituals, rather than offering solace, become a source of further oppression, limiting her ability to live a normal life. The novel critiques these traditions, portraying them as tools of patriarchy designed to control women and ensure their submission to societal norms. Throughout the novel, Phaniyamma's lack of agency is starkly highlighted. As a widow, she has no control over her own fate, and every decision about her life is made by the male members of her family or religious elders. The novel underscores the powerlessness of women in patriarchal societies, where their value is tied to their roles as wives and mothers. Once widowed, they are seen as burdens, with little to no opportunities for remarriage or independence. Despite the harsh treatment she endures, Phaniyamma emerges as a character of immense inner strength. She quietly accepts the fate imposed on her by society but does not let it break her spirit. Over the years, she becomes a source of support and guidance for the younger women in her family, offering them wisdom and advice despite her own limitations. Phaniyamma's endurance is a testament to the resilience of women, who, despite being oppressed, find ways to survive and support each other. Her strength lies in her ability to remain compassionate and caring, even when she herself is deprived of care and affection. As Phaniyamma grows older, her role within the family gradually shifts. Initially, she is treated as a burden, someone who must be cared for but is of little importance. However, as she ages, she becomes a matriarchal figure, respected for her wisdom and experience. The novel portrays the complex dynamics of familial relationships, where women like Phaniyamma, though marginalized, eventually gain a degree of authority in the household. This shift, however, does not alleviate the underlying injustices she faces as a widow. The respect she garners is still rooted in her adherence to traditional norms, rather than any real empowerment or freedom. Throughout Phaniyamma, M K Indira critiques the suffocating conformity that defines Phaniyamma's life. The character is trapped in a system that values obedience and submission above all else. Every action Phaniyamma takes is judged against societal expectations, and her worth is determined by how well she conforms to the prescribed role of a widow. This stifling environment leaves no room for individual desires or aspirations. The novel questions the cost of such conformity, both on the individual and on society as a whole, suggesting that true progress cannot be achieved as long as these rigid structures remain in place. In the latter part of the novel, Phaniyamma's actions, though subtle, suggest a form of quiet resistance to the oppressive system she lives in. She begins to question some of the traditions she once followed unquestioningly and encourages the younger women in her family to think more critically about their roles in society. Although Phaniyamma herself cannot escape the confines of her widowhood, she plants the seeds of change by subtly challenging the norms around her. Her legacy is one of endurance and quiet rebellion, showing that even in the most oppressive circumstances, small acts of resistance can pave the way for future generations. Phaniyamma is not just the story of one woman's life. It is a broader social commentary on the treatment of widows and the rigid caste and gender hierarchies that define traditional Indian society. M K Indira uses Phaniyamma's story to call for social reform, highlighting the need to abolish the oppressive customs that govern women's lives. The novel critiques the blind adherence to tradition, advocating for a more compassionate and just society where women, especially widows, can live with dignity and independence. Phaniyamma's life, though tragic, serves as a powerful reminder of the resilience of women and the urgent need for societal change.